With so many different platforms,
Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube,
and their purposes evolving daily, navigating social media can be, well, complicated. Welcome to the Social Media Sucks podcast from Kubbco.
Social media really sucks.
Where we unpack the latest trends and help remove the suck from social media.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the Social Media Sucks podcast by Kubbco. And today, again, I have Andy and Chris by my side, and we're gonna unsuck your social media.
That's right, we're gonna do that right now.
Let's do it.
And today we're gonna talk about trends in 2021. We're gonna see
2021.
into the future. Maybe this is a New Year's episode.
We should have had like a crystal ball here that was glowing.
Yeah.
And then we
and
could
the
do
smoke
that.
machine again.
And the smoke. But nobody's seen the smoke machine yet. But that's coming out. That episode is still in the works.
Well, let's just ease into it.
Should we jump into it?
Yes.
Trends for 2021.
Or
Hit
ju-
us.
hit
What's
us.
the first question? What do you want to know?
We always start by looking a little bit back, right? Because we take a lot of things from our learnings. So
Okay.
what trends have we seen shape the social media landscape so far in 2020? Like, what's hot, do you think?
There was a bit of a global pandemic. I don't know if you saw that,
Nope.
but that really shaped a lot of stuff. I'd say.
Yeah.
I'd say that was the main driver of a lot of digital innovation and social media innovation this past year. I think that we saw brands get on board with more user-generated content. Brands get on board with more lo-fi content. That's a new sort of term that's been popping up. The low-fidelity content, using more of the phone footage because no big productions were done. So I think that really shaped some things. And then people had time to spend more time on social media. So they just literally were scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. So that was what really, but I can't think of any other major trends last year that really like exploded. Oh, Andy's got some. Of course, Andy's got some.
No, I mean, I think, as you mentioned, the pandemic kind of overwrote all the forecasts for 2019 and maybe a little bit all the forecasts for 2020 and 21 and ongoing as well, because I think the pandemic kind of accelerated a lot of consumer behavior shifts that were kind of happening.
More shopping online.
Yeah, more shopping online. E-commerce is living
And breathing
living insane.
very
Yeah.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm even thinking about starting a dropshipping business. So,
Side business.
Like do that in your own time.
But basically, I think one of the interesting things that I could see is the accelerated behavior towards digitalization. I think since we were all kind of locked up in our own spaces, we were kind of forced to use digital platforms and tools to kind of substitute our otherwise offline interactions. And this kind of forced people to kind of, get familiar with tools and platforms in a, I don't know, kind of enforced, but still faster way.
Yeah, I think it also unleashed a lot of creativity.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were like maybe being on the fence about being a content creator. And then because they had so much time on their hands, they're like, hey, actually, maybe I like doing this. And so there's a lot more creators that sort of like just popped out, creating cool comedy, music, art, skits, using the social tools that are available now and have been for a while to just create content. And that kind of exploded.
so
That's,
what
it's
do you
interesting.
predict for 2021 then, with all these new options that's coming up for the users?
Can I go first?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think one of the things that we could already see booming this year and will go even crazier heights next year, I think, is short form video. We could see that TikTok is basically winning over the social space. And as you mentioned, all creators are just popping up everywhere around the world. And what's easier to do than short form video? I mean, for most of us, it's not easy because you have to be really snappy. You have to have like a really on point kind of script to do it. But it's also sort of easy and kind of low fidelity, as you mentioned as well. So I think that's kind of like a trend that is going to be huge in 2021. And we could kind of see it being shaped in 2020.
Yeah. And I think also what's interesting about TikTok in general, I know like a lot of people will talk about TikTok. Got something on my microphone here. I think a lot of people use TikTok as a clear example of what's going on in the social space in general. But I mean, I think what it's done is it's kind of given permission to people to express themselves in much bigger ways, right? Like the whole dancing trend on TikTok. People that would never dance in public normally are essentially dancing in public on TikTok. And I think that's a really interesting thing. Like we've had even big brands that you would think have no business doing a dance on TikTok being like, hey, should we do a dance on TikTok? And it's like, okay, then the whole mindset is shifted, right? And I think that's the biggest opportunity or the biggest thing that I see right now is that the mindset towards, can we show a softer side? Can we show a more interesting side on our social media? And I think brands are going to be doing that. So
Yeah.
How does it fit from a marketing perspective? I mean, we talk about, Andy, you mentioned short form video, right? But Facebook kind of still promotes, the algorithm kind of still promotes longer form videos, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Like Facebook is definitely leaning towards that. They want longer content because they want to compete with YouTube. But I think, I think that they're going to have to adapt even again towards more shorter form, right?
and I think they will eventually, but you kind of have to keep in mind when thinking about different platforms that their demographics are also different and their user group is different. So the audience of Facebook is primarily probably a bit older, or let's say a bit like further back in the adoption curve. And don't forget about that. Facebook and Instagram are the same company, and Instagram just rolled out Reels and are going super hardcore on promoting it. Now it's basically in the center of your new Instagram layout. So I think Facebook is definitely on track towards short form video.
Yeah, they really see Instagram as their sort of not dark horse, but their horse in that race because they need something. Because I don't think Facebook is geared towards that sort of short form content anymore.
No.
But definitely Reels is on Instagram. So, and I think that brands that have already been, I think brands are also going to use Reels on Instagram as a stepping stone to TikTok. Those that are not prepared to go full in, at least that's what we've seen. Like the more, old school conservative brands are more like, yeah, we'll do Reels, and then let's talk about TikTok in a year or two.
Why do you think it's easier to onboard Reels rather than TikTok?
They have a platform there, and I think they also most have something there already. And I think it's just Reels is maybe the more older brother, even though it came later, but it's sort of like the more, I'd say, appropriate sort of place for brands versus TikTok. And they don't feel it's as young of an audience.
Yeah, the sentiment around Reels is just completely different than TikTok. It also doesn't have the TikTok cults and the culture of TikTok yet.
Yeah.
I think it has the Instagram culture much more, which is much more about, praising each other, kind of being like,
More
very
positive.
while TikTok is this like really
More
harsh
comedy.
reality comedy, sort of sometimes mean, sarcastic, but again very honest and unfiltered.
Yeah. So I think from a trend standpoint, you're going to see brands jumping much more into Instagram Reels, short form, interesting, funny, entertaining content.
Cool.
Yep.
So we do a lot of video at Kubbco, obviously. And can you guys, without sharing any deep company secrets, do some predictions on 2021? How do you imagine we will go strategy-wise?
On the video side?
On the video side.
I think that all brands want, and we've talked about this before, all brands want to scale their content. And like I mentioned also earlier about what really hit us during Corona was the lo-fi content. So almost every brand we're talking with wants phone footage. Mobile phone footage is the king at this point, right? So I really think that is a big area that almost every brand is looking at. How do they do more of this? And that also comes with like filming guides and things to help teach their own people internally how to actually film stuff. So you're actually have a lot of brands turning their employees into content creators or their stakeholders into content creators. And I think that's a massive trend that if you're a brand and you're not already on track to create this team of content creators with your existing employees, you're probably going to miss out on huge opportunities, right? So even like in your R&D department or in your marketing team or any teams that you have, you should be arming them with decent cameras, decent phones, and saying, hey, document that meeting about that project that we're going to launch in a year and a half, because I want footage from the initial meeting where we sat down and started brainstorming, because we're going to use that in something in the future, right? So I think from a video perspective, brands are just jumping headfirst into video more. They're bringing a lot of internal people in to do it, and they should be activating their current teams.
And they can always hire a good post-production company.
Yeah, that's also, it's a very good point, because I think that we're definitely seeing that. A lot of our clients are just sending us footage. We didn't shoot it. We had a hand in the strategy and how to do it, and then they're just sending it to us and we're cutting it up. And I think you're going to see more and more relationships like that.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. I think there is a huge potential in actually empowering your internal stakeholders and also other people who are in touch with your brand, even your consumers, for example, or your buyers. You can just put out some stickers, for example, or some different tools and templates, even on your brand page,
Right.
to kind of empower them to create that, to create content actually. So this way you can have like an easier way when it comes to user-generated content sourcing. And I think that will be interesting to see in the future how major brands, I can already see like some of the brands that are on the forefront of like utilizing social media in creative ways doing it. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how other brands who are maybe a bit more classical will start leaning towards, utilizing more and more UGC, and then also kind of empowering users to create that UGC.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we've definitely seen the rise of Instagram stickers and other sticker type of things. We've done Giphy projects for clients, and the growth there is just insane. Like how much activity you can actually get from providing your fans and your employees and your stakeholders with elements of creativity that they can use, like GIF stickers, like AR filters, like templates, like you said. And I think what's going to be the challenge for brands, and I also see the software side of things on this, and that's where things are getting interesting, is that there's software that's popping up that's able to recognize branded materials within video and brand mentions within audio, so that when you're using that UGC or you want to get into it, you've got tools that'll actually scan the web, scan social channels for your brand and your content being used, so that you can start creating these repositories of UGC. You can start actually diving into, okay, what's out there for us to get into? Because if someone shares a video and they're like showing off their new Nikes, and you have no way of knowing that, then you can't, unless they tag you in it, which some don't, then you have no way of knowing that that they've done that. So there's a lot of tools that are popping up to help people do that. And also there's a lot of tools that are helping brands search videos. Like there's an app that I use called Quick, which is a sort of a subtitling and I would say even a little bit of an editing program for videos for social. And one of the tools they just released is that they, if you're uploading all your videos to the thing, you can actually search it now for particular phrases.
Wow.
Because it's automatically transcribing your videos. So if you wanted to search for social media trends 2020 or social media trends 2021 in this video, or Instagram, if we load this video up, it'll actually give me all the sections where I manage where we say Instagram, and then you can go in and make other clips out of it. So that's also popping up, where brands are going to be able to go into a huge library of all their content and say, okay, we need something on X.
Yeah.
And then just do a search because it's all cataloged. Oh, it's got this piece and this piece. And then they can start clipping together old content and put out new content.
Yeah. So remixing content will be huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Right. Because now we're at a place where we have tons of video footage and footage from all sorts of stuff for many, many years of making stuff. The trick is, how do you catalog it, and how do you like use it for the future? Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's actually super interesting to see like a lot of stuff that we've been already doing for most of 2020 or even for some of 2019 is actually kicking in now, and it's being adapted in like a much broader sense.
Yeah, stuff that we've been doing for a long time.
To see that?
Yeah, I think it's really funny to see the stuff that we've done like in the past is now like the norm, or now like super popular.
For
We're just ahead of the game, dude. What can I say? We got to now we're behind the game. We better get our shit together for the next 2 years.
But it's progressing really quickly, like really fast, all these kind of new trends, especially due to unpredictable factors like the pandemic, right? Like now we see a lot of, Andy, you mentioned we use a lot of digital communication because we are required to be more online. Do you guys, it's maybe a loaded question, but do you guys imagine any new platforms that brands could tap into?
I mean, yeah, that's a loaded
Chris,
question.
yeah, and Chris mentioned some stickers and whatsoever. I don't know.
I mean, I don't actually foresee any like huge platforms coming up other than some of the TikTok competitors from earlier this year who kind of popped up. What I see is actually rather that the main players of the game, such as Facebook and Instagram and so on, Twitter, will actually further increase their efforts towards adoption. And I think they will be the ones who are going to ride the wave because they have the capacity to adopt and move on with the changes fast enough.
I mean, you mentioned game, and I'm going to hang on that word because I think that gaming is just insane right now. And I think it is a social platform. And I think that you're going to see that that's going to morph much, much more into social and beyond just playing a game, but just conversing and being in that world. And I think you're going to see a lot of brands say, hey, we want a piece of that. How can we get involved in gaming in a bigger way? And how do we use that as a social channel? Because I think you'll see that. I think you'll see the CEO of some big company on Twitch conversing with people and playing a game. And that will be an everyday occurrence in
and
the
you
future.
can hear you can hear more about that in our other episode about gaming and streaming.
Yes, that's right. That's a throwback, which is good. You'll hear that in the PlayStation episode with Dia Madsen. We talk about social gaming and how big it is, and I think it can't be ignored. I don't know if it's going to be as big in 2021 as it. I think it's probably 2 years out, but I think we're going to see more and more games being a platform or a channel for brands. For example, digital clothing, digital goods within gaming is going to be massive. And we're going to see people like selling and buying things through these systems in a bigger way in the next few years. So,
I mean, probably you don't know this about me, but I'm a huge gamer. Sometimes I'm trying to leave it.
You have time to game?
behind.
What do you game?
A lot of things.
Okay.
I'm actually trying to leave my PlayStation now for good.
Really?
Yeah, probably because it has like a really bad effect on my productivity. But I'm really into gaming.
Getting a
and
divorce
actually,
with your PlayStation?
Yeah, next year maybe when I have some more free time again. But it's huge, and I think what you're saying is definitely true because I'm actually one of the Twitch consumers who's like sometimes if I have some time or in the morning I do watch someone playing, I don't know, Assassin's Creed, Valhalla or something like that. And however, I'm still like kind of like a lurker, so I'm just there and like kind of listening to it while I'm taking a shower or something. And sometimes I'm just like checking out a game that I'm like thinking about buying or something.
Right.
But I definitely see that like in the chat panel, like there is like some real conversation happening, real time. There is a really alive community at most major streamers. And what I can also see is that these streamers are actually moving towards more mainstream things. And I think another trend that we can see maybe towards the platforms is that I think the lines between platforms and niches and categories will kind of just get smudged, a bit or blurred, let's say, because I think gamers are now moving into lifestyle, and then otherwise lifestyle creators are now moving into TikTok, and then everybody's just migrating and diversifying. So I think it's really interesting to see.
Yeah, it is becoming, I guess you could say that social is the culture. Like social media is the sort of red thread through all of these things. So I would say that, and then you would say gaming is also a huge cultural thing now. So it's kind of all smushed together now. And I think that you're going to see these big platforms really try to keep up with the gaming things like Twitch. And then you'll see, I think Facebook
gaming launched.
Yeah. Like that's a clear example of them just trying to, and Facebook, I think, is fast followers with almost everything. So you're always going to see solutions that are on certain platforms go throughout sort of Facebook. And I think the other platform prediction that I made, and people have been making this for years, so I'm not new to the game. This, but others have been saying, and I firmly believe this, that Messenger or SMS, which is old school, but the sort of more messaging type of solution is going to pick up much, much more. I mean, internally here, we use a ton of Slack messaging to communicate. Email is, we try not to email each other because sometimes you just need a quick message. And I think brands are also going to have that sort of discussion board messaging with their fans, and it'll be much easier to communicate and have that conversation versus just being a publisher publishing out stuff all the time. I think that's slowly going away, and it's going to be more, more conversational.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Chatbots are the future.
Chatbots, well, not even just chatbots, but just like connecting to the brand in that way.
So like conversational marketing.
Yeah, and I think community management, we do a ton of community management here, and I think that what we've noticed is how valuable that is to fans and to people who just want to reach out and touch somebody. Like, that sounds a little dirty. They just want somebody on the other line versus a call center or something like that, or they just, all of us yearn a little bit for human connection now as we get more into these social tools. And I think that's one of the aspects that's allowing that, is that messenger sort of instant communication sort of thing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any tips and tricks how to stay on top of these trends since they're so fast evolving?
First, I have to kill this fruit fly. We always have these fruit flies. It's the bananas we get.
I mean, tips on which we talked about a bunch of trends now, but I think one tip from me is, or something that I typically like to do, is always pay attention to consumer behavior shifts, because that's what's going to really shape trends in 2021. It's not in the other way around. So it's not really like we are shaping the trends are shaping what we kind of have to keep up with. So just think about like what the pandemic resulted in. Like it sped up digitalization. There are new global communities. People are much more open for online activism. Everybody stood behind causes such as the Black Lives Matter one, and all this is happening. And I think it's really interesting to see how this is going to actually further expand in 2021. And I think if you really want to like tap into the trends and stay on top of them, just keep the consumer behavior always on top of your mind.
Yeah. I like you're taking it from a marketing aspect. I'm going to take it from more of like an organizational business aspect, which is, I think that what I'm seeing, or that what I think is super vital and will be for the next decade at least, is that speed is key. And we're just noticing like everything is getting faster, and trends are coming and going faster, and everything is moving faster and faster and faster. And I think that everything that your organization does should be about speed, should be how do we get faster. If we're just doing things to do the status quo, or if we're looking at this new activity or this new project, and it's not about how do we increase the speed on this, then I think you're missing the boat. And I think that's the biggest thing I could say, is that how do you, everything that you look at, every new project, every new thing, hey, we want to, go on TikTok. The get-go should be of course about what should we post there and stuff like that. But it should be, okay, but how do we do this at speed? How do we do this now? Not, do a 3-month study on it and then find out we want to do it. It should always be about how do we do this now? How do we get started now? How do we do this? And I think that's the biggest tip I have, because you're going to miss the boat. There's too many things. There's too much innovation. You just got to get in, figure out what works, and iterate on it. And if, it fails, then you failed fast, and you can move on to the next thing and learn as you go.
Definitely.
So speed is key. Keep increasing it. Put the pedal down and just go.
What about from brand perspective? Like, do you guys think every brand should just tap into whatever trend there is and be the fastest at everything and just get out there as soon as possible? Or what do you think? How do brands utilize this?
I think actually for brands, depending on your brand personnel. So if you have like a top-notch CMO, go with it. Go with hunches. Go with instinct. But if you don't, then sometimes it's better if you wait a bit. Because, for example, again, back to what happened with the pandemia, is, you know, we could see that some brands waited out for maybe a week or two, and then they came out with something that was like a winning creative and kind of laid into the social conversation that was by then kind of expanded, kind of already going on its own, and they could just kind of lay into it. While some other brands try to rush into it, address the pandemia right away, and most of them actually kind of failed with that because there was just not enough information to build on, I think.
Right.
But there is one or a few trends that I can see already that can be like very interesting for brands, and one of this is actually this increasing sense of intimacy in the feed. I think people with actually the way how digitalization is proceeding, I think are finding new and new ways to show their human side in the feed on across different social media channels. And I think brands should definitely follow along.
Be more human.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that trend's been coming for a long time, and I don't think everybody's nailed it right. But you asked the question if I think that brands should be just like hopping on trends and being on the bandwagon. I agree with you. Like, it's not going to be every single brand that can. It really depends on who they are and what they do. But I think that what we've seen is that it doesn't have to be this big thing. So, for example, I don't know if you remember when Elon Musk revealed the Cybertruck.
Yeah.
And then there was a lot of memes about it
hammer,
and stuff like
yeah.
that. Yeah. And some, I think it was, who was it? It was Denny's, which is a diner in the US. They're like, oh, we just released our diner truck, and it was the Cybertruck with like Denny's logo and stuff like that on it. Like, how could we not know that this was coming out the same day?
That's cool.
And like, that is cool. And all it is a small social media post that says, hey, we're in the culture as well. We are with you, eye level, looking at the same things, enjoying the same content, the same cultural aspects that everybody is enjoying, and we have a little part in that. And it doesn't have to be this big strategy and this, but should we? Obviously, if it's like something about that's political or something that's like Black Lives Matter or something that's hardcore, about your company values, you have to know what you're doing there. I mean, Nike took almost 6 months to a year before the Colin Kaepernick thing came out. So they took their time in understanding what are we about and how do we communicate in this. So you can do that, but the thing is that that's much more difficult. What I'm talking about is more like little things that come up, little cultural aspects. Like there was this moving company that before the election did an ad about, need help moving, and then they parked the truck out front of the White House. Right? And it's like, that's brilliant. Like that's a captured moment in time where you can go, okay, it's cultural, I get it, it's funny. And that's the best kind of advertising you can do, is when you're actually like in the world and experiencing it just like everybody else. Yeah, so I would say get into that, see what's going on. Don't be afraid of making some mistakes, because literally everyone's going to forget about it next week. Like,
yeah.
So,
but still be careful.
Don't be careful.
Okay.
Don't be careful. Just do it.
Let's try to sum up. You guys have to assist me on this, but we talked about the pandemic. Obviously, made some new cultural changes and how we use our phones and how we just the screens actually and be a digital presence, right? And so we see a lot of more lo-fi content, which is good to utilize for brands in 2021, especially when it's like low maintenance. You can have your employees be content creator instead of high skill productions, and so it's easy for brands to tap into.
Yeah.
And then key platforms we should watch out for could also be gaming, for instance, and
gaming is
streaming.
going to be huge.
Tap into that, because we're a lot more on our phones, on the screen, online, and also
Instagram Reels.
Instagram Reels,
Watch over
yeah.
that. I mean,
Short
you could
form
basically
video.
see like, my voice cracked there. Like, hi guys, I am 13. Basically, you can see like, usually if a platform is doing extremely well, it's going to permeate through the rest of the platforms because they're going to say, oh, we got to get that. So just keep an eye on those things. Watch out for what are the big trends in maybe one or two platforms. Usually it's going to show up in the other ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like LinkedIn stories, like we saw that was huge in Instagram, huge in Snapchat when it first came out. And of course, LinkedIn takes that. Of course, Facebook takes that.
And key learnings would just be keep on trying. Just try. Don't be afraid to jump on stuff. Try stuff out because trends are moving fast. They come and go, and so should your content.
Yes,
Yeah, exactly.
and provide your fans and stakeholders with ways of making content, like gift stickers and frameworks and templates
Give
and
them tools to be creative.
AR
filters.
filters,
Yes,
yeah.
give them tools. So arm them with stuff for your brand. And then if you get hardcore, you can get some of those tools that actually monitor the web for your brand, so you can actually use the UGC. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else? We talked a little bit about it, like socially conscious. Like there's a lot of brands that'll get more and more into social aspects. Also, as we hit 2030, coming up to 2030, more about the Paris Accord and sort of sustainability discussions. A lot of brands will do more of that. So we'll see more socially conscious brands. What else? I think that's
about it, guys.
about it
for
social media trends
for now.
2021.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Great. So thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you guys got some good information out of that. And don't forget to subscribe, rate us, give us a thumbs up on wherever you are. Smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button. There's too many things.
Smash everything.
Yeah.
Just like go on your keyboard and just tab on it like this. And hopefully something will happen. But we'll see you guys in the next one. What's the next episode,
The next episode, we are tapping into.
She has no idea.
I have no idea.
We're tapping into something, you guys.
Tapping into something more specific, like how to work with specific brands, industries as an agency. Use our expertise somehow. That could be
That's
interesting.
Right. We are going to talk about a specific industry next time. And you'll just have to wait to hear
And
about
see.
that.
Let's see.
So thank you guys so much for listening and for watching out there in the world. And we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Peace out.
This has been the Social Media Sucks Podcast.